Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Vermin Hunter and this is 223 Centrefire Foxing on my permissions here in South Wales. This is the second part of my two-part films which were shot on the farm permission in 2024. The first one was filmed in the early part of the year from early spring right up until April, and this particular one, the second one that you're watching now, will be from June. Two outings I had in June and then one in late October. The second one in late October was really successful. The first one in June wasn't as such. This particular first outing was filmed in June and this was up on my permission. As you see here, the bales of hay have been cut. The farmers cut all of the fields and was taking them in that particular night, and I think that's why I didn't see many foxes about the permission. And here we see me walking out with my GC350 Icotech, and I play a various amounts of calls on that. Put it down on the grass in this particular time. I normally use something like a distress call from a vermin, i.e. like a rat or a mouse, particularly because the bale has been around and there's a lot of detritus, a lot of like bits being cut up from the baler as he's cut the hay. He's baled it ready, and the foxes normally, when I see them, tend to be about the peripheries of the field, looking around the outside to see if there's anything being left, and they'll run about the bales. But this particular night, because the farmer was still out until 2 o'clock in the morning picking the bales up, I didn't get much success. I did raise one, as you'll see, but for most of the video I didn't get any success at all. Now on top of my Centrefire 223, it's a CZ, what I got is the Scopemate LRF, and on top of that I've got the T2 Pro. And the T2 Pro is infrared. It's a small, very tiny camera that gets fitted up to a USB lead that fits to your phone. I put the phone mount of the T2 Pro directly above the scope, and I use that as a thermal spot. And as you see here, it's in black hot as I scope it across the fields, and then I change it to white hot depending where I am, depending on the thermal picture I'll get. I understand this day and age with a lot of people using high-end expensive equipment. I prefer to use budget. I enjoy my hunting. I keep the foxes down on the farm and the golf club, and my budget is quite tight. So I bought this several years ago and I've used it. To my own experience, it's been fantastic. It gives me the heads up when the foxes come in. Here on the bottom field, before I moved to the top field, I had a thermal picture, and this was moving very quickly across the field from left to right. And when I looked through the Scopemate, I did at the time think it's too small to be a fox. What could it be? And it was one of the farm cats. There's some feral farm cats up on the farm. The neighbour comes and feeds them as she passes through the property, so you do see them from time to time. They don't normally answer the call, but on my last video you did notice I had two of them hunting up and down the fields came in, and this particular night this one did. So when I've spun around from the bottom field where the bales are and the farm, here I'm back on the Scopemate NVRS12 LRF, and here I'm scoping down, and it's a bit of a difficult field because one side goes down to the barns and this side then points out down to the fields. The foxes see me, I do tend to get skyline. As you see, the GC350 is bothering this horse across the neighbouring farm. This is the farm above me, and this horse watched me for a long time. It was neighing every now and again in response to the call. So obviously the call with the various calls on it, which is the rabbit in distress this particular time. You hear me scoping across the top field. I got 3 or 4 fields which sit behind me, and I noticed on the T2 Pro a thermal picture of a very small thermal object at the bottom of the field. When I looked through the scope, I realised it was a young fox watching me. I was obviously skylined at this particular point. It's very difficult to shoot in this particular area because I'm shooting into 3 fields behind me. I took the shot, heard a definite thud, thought I'd had a kill. When I went down to check, I realised there was nothing there. When I look back on the T2 Pro, I realised the fox, I'd missed him barely. I must have just scalped him. I missed him because I was out on angle and I wasn't too sure my foot him. I missed him and it hit something solid behind. There's a hedge line behind going down into a deep field. So that was it. So I packed up, and then that was the end of that particular night there. Unfortunately, 3 or 4 hours out, filming and shooting across 3 or 4 fields. No success at all, only that one particular fox. And the second part of the film was filmed in late October on the other end of the farm, which looks down a series of 3 big fields down a valley with a underground reservoir at the bottom of it. As you can see from here, I'm filming from right to left with the T2 Pro. And you can see the underground reservoir and the tree line. Here you see it in black hot. It was quite a mild night. Good thermal picture, right out to 150, 200 yards, really good picture. The farm above me in that shot is actually 300 yards away, really well. The thermal picture depends upon the atmospherics on that particular night. It had been raining heavily for weeks. You could see me like potted on the field here. I was quite deep up to my ankles in mud, very sticky mud on thick mossy bed, and the fields are quite badly waterlogged. Put the caller out. It's on one aspect out from where I stand. I've got the reservoir behind me. To my right hand side is thick boggy grass, and in front of me is boggy grass. But beyond that, as it goes down into the stream, it's actually quite flat. It looks very much like it's been cut in the summer or like a golf course. It's very strange, as you see in this particular shot. It's flat grass beyond the rise down. But to the left and to the foreground is very, very deep. As you see me wandering back up, struggling to get my foot in, coming through the deep grass and the deep water. It's a very clear moonlit night, thick grass, cold wind. I'm scoping down the field here from the reservoir, and that's over 300 yards. It's a good picture with the T2 Pro when you've got good atmospherics. When it's a very cloudy night or quite drizzly, you do get poor picture. So you'll see the black hot, and then I'm scoping back down the field from where the car's parked, and as I keep coming down the field towards the gate, then the gate is about 120 yards away from me. The foxes, I notice, normally come over the top of the hill down towards the gate, across the farm track where the gate is, and they tend to follow down the one side of the stream that sits on a culvert, that gate. And what I notice as I'm panning about, you can see here I'm panning back up to my left hand side again to see if any foxes have come down when I parked my car. This is quite a few hundred yards away, looking down the field. In the middle of the field, right opposite me, on the thermal, on the T2 Pro, was a fox. There was a big animal. I noticed him. He was about 90 yards off. Either scented me, or I think he picked up an AR from one of the trail cameras. He wasn't happy. Turned tail, started to walk away. Still interested in the call. You'll see him looking back. I decided as he's in a slow trot to take a shot. Dropped in with a 55 grain. Straight through, down. First fox of the night. On the same stand, reloaded, kept looking about as I've noticed foxes come in before. I've never had much success with two foxes on the same stand before, but I particularly looked across the left hand side. I noticed this young leggy cub had come down. He'd come from the same, presumably dog fox. I took a shot, dropped him. As you see, he was in the final throes of a death throw, and onto the tail ups, he died soon after. So reloaded, scanning about again before I went to pick up the two foxes. I thought I'd edge my bets and continue to scope about, just in case. I've never been successful with two, which I had been this particular night. But as I looked up into the tree line from the same place again, I noticed another thermal picture here on white hot, and you'll see then with the scope that I picked up on the eye shine. And this animal, it was a fair size animal from the size of the head and the eyes. It come down the same track as the first two had come, over the top of the hill, quite a muddy track down to the gate. I came round the gate and I'd lost him. I'd lost him for a couple of seconds, and he'd stayed the one side of the stream, across the stream, come up through the very, very flat smooth grass, and his head was poking over the top of the bank. As you can see, looking at the collar. He's also picked up on eye shine from the infrared. I think he looked at me a few times. I decided to take a shot, and that was approximately 90 yards, headshot, dropped him. 3 foxes in one stand, really was. That was personal best for me. It was a good night, really was a good, excellent night. Good conditions. I'd been up there for 3 months and kept off the ground. Here you see up the rifle down, I've got my bag ready to go and collect the GC350 and the trail cam from the area where I put them down for the callers. Made my way out tentatively through the marsh grass. Very, very thick, watery, quite dangerous to walk across. Collect up the equipment. Make my way back to the stand, where I've got the rifle unloaded on the stand as it's filming here with the T2 Pro on black hot. You can see perfectly well the outline. This is me approximately 80 yards out, perfectly good silhouette, perfectly good depth, plenty of contrast on the thermal picture. Make my way back in. Really is a good, it's only 350 pound. It's a small item that fits to the back of the camera, and I'm really impressed with it. Dropped the equipment, back out to pick up fox number 3, sat on the bank looking down into the stream. with a torch, found him straight away. Lovely dog, big dog fox, lovely big animal, as you see here when I'm holding him standing upright. There's ears and front paws touching the ground, perfectly placed between one side of his head, right over the eye. Good headshot. You can see it falling into the stream, and it's actually got water over the front half of the body. Put him down, back out to collect fox number 2. Fox number 2 was quite a leggy cub. Brought that back to collect fox number 1, which is a very big dog fox. As you can see, I'd caught it over the left shoulder. Here was quite a lot of mud, a lot of very deep grass. He'd obviously fallen down where he'd tried to run away, and I clipped him because the right hand side, as he'd run away from me back down the field, I clipped him over the right shoulder straight through. 55 grain, doing a perfect job. And now I have the inevitable task of trying to carry all equipment back up the 500 yards to the car, right up the fields. It's very dense, very thick, waterlogged mud and grass. Carrying the 2 biggest animals here, very big dog foxes, back over to the tarmac road. It's actually a surface road which runs to the underground reservoir, back to the car. The hunting equipment used is the CZ 527-223 rem, the Thermo laminate, the Wildcat Evo moderator, and the 223 Centrefire ammo is the 55 grain Norma small game Vermin tip strike. It's got a polymer tip. As I said, the Scopemate, the NVRS12 LRF, and the T2 Pro. Please give me the thumbs up and subscribe so you get immediate notification when the next video is out. Happy hunting. Take care.